Walk me a little bit through. This is my Tim Ferriss part of the episode, the process of writing. So, what is as you're writing this book, or as you're writing now? Let's actually talk about now. It's more interesting. What is your typical? Is there a typical process, and what is it?
I'm really, really lucky because the wonderful team at Al Circal at the foundation, and they've given me a
Studio.
little office, a
Oh, that's great.
studio. I'm kind of doing like a little residency
Thank you, Sir
there.
Kel. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
no, they're just honestly so wonderful, and they've been such supporters of my work from the beginning. So I'm extremely grateful to them. And so right now I have the joy and the privilege of, I wake up, I
Going there.
take my kids to school, and then I go straight there. And I have this little space that's just mine, a room of my own.
Do you write longhand?
I've been writing longhand.
Longhand.
Yeah.
You have a notebook?
I have a couple of notebooks. I have these old school yellow pads,
Oh,
those
wow.
legal
That's
pads.
fantastic.
And I have my Muji pens.
Okay, I was going to ask, is it a pen or a pencil?
It's a pen.
It's a pen.
Pens, yeah. Muji pens. They have the .7 tip. I
And
love
then
those
do you
pens.
scratch or do you like erase or?
I tear the whole page out and I
Ah, wow.
and I throw. It's all
Wow.
very
Okay,
dramatic.
yeah, because I was like, okay.
There's
See,
a lot of paper.
yeah, and you can sit for how long? I mean, do you take a break? Like, how does it work?
I take breaks. I take little coffee breaks. I
Okay.
take breaks to eat. I'm much kinder to myself now than I was.
Yeah,
I
before it was like masochistic, like
yeah,
just need to get through
It
this.
was like it would just be lots of caffeine and no food. And now I'm like, I nurture myself more. I make sure I'm well fed and hydrated.
And is there like a goal, like every day I need to produce 3 pages kind of thing, or some days it's 7 and one day it's nothing?
Right now I'm at the process where I'm just writing without judgment. So
Okay.
I'm not calculating. I'm trying not to look at word count, which is one of the reasons why I'm writing longhand, because I'm trying not to be so
Yeah.
fixated.
740 words. That
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
was
Yeah.
noticing, I was
Yeah.
watching the word count rise, and then if I would delete something again, it would fall, and that would be a little heartbreaking. So sometimes there's something about writing longhand that feels less formal.
Yes, of course.
It feels more journalistic. It feels more like what I used to do, 10
But
years ago.
what's interesting is because I've had some writers, and we've had a writer on this show, Nadia Wasif, some time back, and she said she had a second book full of everything she's cut out, which is kept in a separate file, which is, I think, quite common.
Yeah.
So in longhand writing, that's not the case because you have balls
Yeah.
of paper, which I don't think you're keeping, are you?
No.
Okay.
But
So-
I've made an artwork of
Oh,
my
did you?
bald paper
Did you
from
really?
the first book. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I
That's
created a
amazing.
little work of art.
But in a way, it's kind of extinguished from your life. This is not, I'm going to go back and read the in-between chapter that's now gone kind of thing.
I like to call it a book graveyard. I don't think this book is going to have a very extensive graveyard,
Okay.
like Burnt Sugar has an
So
extensive
part of it is the
graveyard.
efficiency also. You maybe streamlined your process.
No, let's see. Let's see if it's streamlined. I think it's always so tricky. I think it's so interesting. When I first started writing this, I had 3 separate ideas. Okay. And I thought they were 3 different books and or 3 different stories. And I was just like, what? But they would just keep coming. And I couldn't figure it out. And I said, why is this happening? And I kept thinking, I'm so unfocused. I have no focus. It's this Instagram, it's social media, it's destroying me. I can't focus. And I remember, and I'm very into astrology. I was telling you.
Yes.
I was walking under.
I love that. I did not expect that, by the way. When you told me this, I
Oh
was
my
a
God.
little-
I'm like a mystic.
Yeah, I just
I'm
did
a
not
mystic.
expect- I'm a Capricorn, but anyway.
Oh, me too.
Oh, you are too?
When's your
Oh,
birthday?
January 6th.
Okay.
What about
December
you?
26th.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like.
I'm going to do your chart one day.
Okay. Can't wait.
So I was walking under a full moon,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly the 3 ideas, they just braided together. And suddenly it made sense that this was not 3 books. This was 1 book. And so I've really, I've just realized that you never know what the process is. Like there's something where I think I'm streamlining, but it turns out no. Or I think I'm writing one thing and then it turns into something else. And I think just being as present and open, and which is why meditation becomes so important. And I know like a lot of writers they kind of don't like to,
They feel it might numb some of that process in a way.
well, they like to think their process is very rational.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's almost like it's serious. Writing is so serious. And, we don't want to talk about spirituality and writing in the same sentence. And, that's more for the wellness world or whatever. But for me, like, I think this is all connected, being present, being really in my body and present and feeling everything and sensing everything. And I mean, if you've read the book, you know that the sensory input is
It's huge.
everything. It's the core of the novel.
In your second book, without peering too much into it, I'm curious because you're now in Dubai and you have this daily routine. Is some of that coming into its own thing? Because that sensory, I mean, the India here is very, very palatable, right?
But I wrote this in Dubai.
Oh, this was fully written in Dubai too?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But because, well, you said, I guess you started it. You started, I guess, kind of
Started
very
in,
early stages. And
yeah.
okay,
But
so then
this is, yeah, fully.
there's not much of Dubai here in this book. I'm curious if now I've lived here for 6, 7 years, any of this will find its way into the book somehow.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think part of my process through like these meditative states and through kind of just um imagining my way into a scene, I can travel.
Wow, you
But
channel it.
definitely, I think definitely there are layers of,
All of
of
this.
things that will come through. Definitely conversations I've
Yeah.
had or things I've overheard or
And that was my next question. Is there a peer group? I mean, do you have a secret WhatsApp group with a bunch of writers? Or is it more like friends that you're like, oh, I can write today? I mean, like, who do you turn to? Is it other writers or is it like, or both?
yeah, so I have
I need to get into
some.
that group, by the way.
Yeah, you do. It's so good.
Crash it.
I have a group. I have a couple of groups. I
Okay.
have I have two that are active.
Okay.
Um, we're all kind of one group. We're all kind of writer mothers,
Okay. Oh, wow.
which is so
That must be.
nourishing and soothing, and to be able
And
to really be
centering, right?
seen by, yeah, and like I don't have to explain,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that it's just everyone gets it. Um, and also just this thing of like your children always talking that it's hard to have your own thoughts, right? So we all are kind of sharing that. And another group is from when I did a writing fellowship years ago in the UK. And
Amazing.
so we're a couple of
That's
writers
amazing.
there. And it's amazing. But we're just there for each other. I get to really hear from them and they get to hear from me. Like the days when we say to each other, like, I can't write another word. I've said to them, for example, a few years after Burnt Sugar came out, that I'm a fraud. Like, I can't write. Like, this was a fluke. This was a fluke. Don't judge me. It was a fluke. And, they've said similar things to me.
Yeah.
And, so it's that whole creative doubt, all of
Yeah.
that, the imposter syndrome, that feeling of like, being wrung out like a cloth creatively. I mean, all of that.
Is it emotional support or also um, do you read out passages to each other? Do you share writing?
So we haven't shared writing recently, but we do
You do.
sometimes. We do
And
sometimes.
how do you respond to critique? If someone is like, this really isn't that strong.
Oh God, very badly.
I figured.
I'm like really thin-skinned and I don't
Yeah.
take rejection well. And, I get really sulky and,
Okay, yeah.
all of that. But I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
I think dealing with it and then coming through on the other side. And more often than not, what people are telling you is spot on,
Yeah.
that you can't see
Yeah.
it yourself. But I think you also have to learn that discernment.
Yeah.
I think MFA programs are wonderful, but I think there can be a danger in workshopping your work too
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
because there's a ripening
Yeah.
that has to happen with any work, with the business, with the painting, with anything,
And
right?
also finding your own way.
Yeah, having someone else give you a solution,
Yeah.
it has to come from inside.
Sometimes I think it it's like a startup or a business, like, like the Lighthouse. Like, I'm sure if I had somebody with me that had experience in restaurants and F&B, it would have been easier in some ways. But I think also some of the things that maybe the best thing about it today would have been gone because they didn't make sense from a restaurant perspective, but they made total sense to me.
Yeah.
So I think you weed out those eccentric elements, which may be the best thing in the book or in the craft, whatever that may be.
I mean, I can give you one example. I had someone tell me that I don't like the first 50 pages. I think you need to start 50 pages in. Let that be the first
Ooh.
page. And I heard that and I was like, and the person meant very well. But I realized, this is a good, smart person, but this person doesn't really understand
Mm.
what I'm doing. And so also you have to know the audience. You have to know, like, the person I'm asking to critique my work or to read my work or to give me feedback, do they really understand my project? Because to be honest with you, for example, the first page of the book has been the most kind of
Yeah,
talked about
everybody talked about,
thing.
yeah,
And so, I mean, imagine if I had cut
yeah,
out the first 50 pages of the book.
exactly.
For a lot of people,
Certainly on
that's,
the press would have, I mean, I think the first line, in fact, the first page is like in
yeah.
every, almost every review and interview. I mean, everybody talked about it.
And a lot of people have said that, the first 50 pages are some of their favorites in the book or whatever. So, I
Yes.
mean, it's, so you have to kind of know, you have to discern. You have to be discerning even in what people tell you and
Well,
kind
it's
of
not a book you can
detached.
put down. I can tell you that much. I mean that. Honestly, it's not a book that you can put down. So I can't imagine it without the first 50 pages. But there are books that you read and you really enjoy, and I can pause and I can even leave them for a week or two, sometimes longer, and go back, and I enjoy it. But
Mm,
this is not the first, not the second time. It's not a book you can like
mm.
start and be like, like you can be indifferent. You kind of like it's fascinating.